you might already have in your house. This week we talked about potatoes and sweet potatoes. We talked about where to look for things to start your garden. We talked about how to prep those things. We talked about upcycling items from your kitchen for short-term containers. And today we're going to be talking about scavenging your house for more long-term containers for your garden. Hi, if we have not met, my name is Quincey Adams, and I want to help you start a garden and grow some of your own food in a small space on a budget. Let's get started. So I went through my house and I pulled out some things that I have either used before or will use. Some of these things I was specifically saving so I could use them in my garden, or something similar to what I'm using in my garden. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is a fabric grocery bag. So this is just a bag that I got at the commissary many years ago, and it actually has my name in it. So I have not personally used any of my grocery bags to grow, but I do have stuff growing in some expo bags. So I am a big fan of all things free. I love swag. So I'm that person who goes around at the end of the conference and asks people what they have left and fill up a couple bags and have just 1,000 tiny containers of hand sanitizer and pens. I love it. I reuse it. I haven't bought hand sanitizer in years, but similar type of bag. Those bags are, well, at least they have not, they don't hold up super well, so don't expect them to last very long. But if you have them sitting in something that's reinforced, then you can get a couple of seasons out of them instead of just one. So what I have with my expo bags in my garden is I actually have them sitting in a milk crate like this. This is just a standard, bought this at Walmart. They stack, they're convenient. And I lined that milk crate with cardboard, because cardboard is a great thing to use in your garden. It breaks down great. It's great for your compost bin. You want to take the tape and the labels off before using it in the garden. But so I lined, of course, this particular box doesn't fit perfectly, but I lined the milk crate with pieces of cardboard on all sides and the bottom, and then I set the expo bag inside the milk crate. Because one thing that I learned in my garden in particular is anything that I plant has to be mobile. I have to be able to pick it up and move it or roll it into a new position, because the sun changes position in the sky drastically. So that means that stuff that I spent all this time like planting only gets sun for a couple of months, and then the rest of my growing season, which is pretty long here, it's not in the sun, so I have to move my containers into the sun, which is why I didn't go with just the expo bag. If I knew that I was going to be able to leave it in one spot, then I would have just planted the expo bag and maybe like reinforced it with some cardboard to make it stand up straight, like this. But since I knew at that point that I was going to have to move things, I went with the milk crate lined with cardboard to like absorb and hold in some moisture, and the expo bag, and I was expecting the expo bag to fall apart pretty quickly. And they have. They're barely holding on, but they are falling apart. I did watch this video today. This was kind of cool. This guy planted potatoes in a cardboard box in his garden. What he did was he took all the tape off and the label. He took the bottom flaps and poked them in, and then took the upper flaps and bent them down to reinforce it. So the bottom was open, but he set it on the ground. It was obviously a much bigger box, but it looked like this. It sat on the ground. He put some dirt in, put the potatoes in, filled the rest of it up with dirt, covered it over with some weeds, and made a free container for excess potatoes. So that was pretty cool. So if you want to try something like that, if you've got some dirt, That's a cool little project. It will break down by the end of the season. So if you're planting potatoes in it, expect to put that cardboard in the compost bin or in the garbage when you harvest the potatoes 3 to 4 months later, because cardboard that gets wet several times, it's going to get slimy. It's going to start breaking down. It will invite worms, but it's not going to last very long. So that's cardboard that we talked about, and expo bags and milk crates. Some other things, if you ever bought plants before, I usually save the containers. They last for 2 to 3 years generally before they get brittle and they break apart, but they make good scoops. They make good containers for small plants. If I'm planting like flowers from seed, or if I wanted to plant just like 2 garlic bulbs, or like a lettuce, like the end of a lettuce would go good in here. This particular one does not have holes in the bottom, so you would need to put holes in the bottom, but save your plastic containers that plants come in from the store. Then next item is 5-gallon bucket. I bought this specifically to use for garden purposes, but they're really common. I do have a couple that I use just for tools, but I did buy this one specifically for garden purposes. And as you can see, I mix dirt in here. So 5-gallon bucket. This is really deep. So this is good for something that has a really deep root system, or like a root vegetable that's really long. So if you want to grow something like carrots in here, that would be good. I would think about doing like 1 or 2 bulbs of like sunchokes in here, because they're gonna need to be deep. You could do potatoes in here. Lots of people do potatoes in 5-gallon buckets. What else would I do in a 5-gallon bucket? Do flowers. I have a lot of flowers in my 5-gallon buckets, and I have got some sugar cane planted in a 5-gallon bucket on my deck, and we will find out soon if it survived the winter. Something else. This is another just type of bucket. This is from my cat litter. Obviously, I have it shipped to my house. I'm not carrying these around, but it's got a lid. I actually saved a bunch of these because I wanted to paint them black and use them as heat sinks in my greenhouse, but then it never got cold enough to bother. Let's see, what is the number on the bottom of this? This is a 5. Okay, so my other containers are also plastic. So I will show you those containers, and then we will have a quick conversation about growing in plastic. So kitty litter, bucket, good kind of bucket. Also, if you don't have any buckets at your house, but you're looking for some, most places that like have a bakery section, like the grocery stores, or if you go to fast food restaurants, they get food in 5-gallon buckets. So like in the bakery section, they're going to have icing in 5-gallon buckets. If you go to like a sandwich shop, they're going to get pickles in 5-gallon buckets. Just ask them if they want to get rid of some of them. A lot of places will either give them to you for free, or they'll sell them to you for less than $5. So don't sleep on the buckets, because they are readily available, and to most people, they are just garbage. I see some comments. Let me check real quick to see if I have any questions. Okay, no questions yet. Hi, Sherry. Okay, let's continue. The next item I have is a laundry basket, and this laundry basket is actually lined with some weed fabric and held on with zip ties. If you guys are not using zip ties in your garden, you are missing out. They are good for everything. So this weed fabric I actually bought for landscaping around my house. I still have most of it. So this is what I bought. Show you the label. This was probably around $15, and I use this to line all of my containers that have a lot of holes in them. So if it doesn't have cardboard in it, it's got landscape fabric, and I specifically got the fabric kind, not the plasticky type. So that's how I do those, and I just wrap it around till it goes like 1.5 times around, and then I set the fabric inside the container and fold it over in half, and then I make sure it goes all the way around, and I use zip ties to keep it at the top. So that's my easy method of recreating a fabric grow bag and a laundry basket. And then the last container is just a regular storage totes. These come in all manner of shapes and sizes. They generally have lids on them. I have not personally grown in one of these, but I would. I do have some that I save specifically to use as lids for growing out in when it's still cold. So you can just take the top of these and set it on top of your plants. So if you've got some low plants that are frost tender, you can put this over and keep a little bit of extra heat on top of them to keep them from freezing if it's too early to put them outside without any kind of cover. So that's just one way you could do that. And we will talk more about covering plants another time, but that's just one way to do it. And that's when you have the clear ones or the translucent ones, it's a really good use for them. Now let's talk about plastic real quick. In case you did not know, actually, you're probably not going to, well, you're not going to see this on any of them, but all plastic, well, most plastic has a little code on the bottom. There's going to be rectangle, and there's going to be a number in that, or rectangle. There's going to be a triangle. I'm so sorry. There's going to be a triangle, and inside that triangle, there's going to be a number. And that number is going to tell what type of chemicals that plastic is made out of. All plastic is made out of chemicals, and generally all chemicals leach into whatever is in that container, but certain plastics are food safe. So generally, if you want to grow something in plastic, make sure that it's a food safe container, and that means that it's generally safe for growing it. So there's the numbers that are generally safe for food are 1, 2, 4, and 5, but 1 is generally a one-time use plastic, so avoid that one. 2 and 5 are generally safe to heat in, so that's going to be your fast food containers that you get from, I know every time I get Chinese food, it comes in plastic containers. Those, those are always number 2. Those are safe to heat. So if you're putting your plants outside, they're going to be exposed to the sun, they're going to be watered, you're going to have plants in there. Those are the 2 and 5 are the 2 best options. Number 2 is the absolute best if you're going to grow in plastic. And then never, ever, ever, ever grow in something that has a number 3 on the bottom. 3 is the worst. 1, 2, 4, and 5 are safe for food. 2 and 5 are safe for heat. 2 is the best. 2 is high density polyethylene. So it says HDPE on the bottom. Now I'm just going to briefly mention one other thing. I don't have a whole lot of science to back this up. I've only saw this really quickly on one website when I was looking for bulk items. So I was looking to buy some bulk 5-gallon containers or 5-gallon buckets. This is before I learned that you could ask for them at restaurants and at the deli section, and before Walmart started selling them, because then I just got them at Walmart because I was already there. But I was sourcing bulk buckets for my garden, and on this particular website, I don't know what it is, I couldn't find it quickly, but I noticed that they said that even though all the buckets were made out of food safe plastic, some of the dyes that they used to color some of the plastics were not food safe. So if you're buying buckets or buying some kind of plastic container from somewhere, double check on their website and look for that kind of information to make sure that just because the container is safe, that you might not be getting a color with a dye that's not safe. So I remember specifically on this website, they said that the red containers, the red buckets and the black buckets were not safe to grow in because the dye was not safe. And I was specifically looking for black buckets to use as a heat sink and to use to grow in. So I ended up not getting them from that site, which is why I generally default to white for that now. But now you know, if you're buying containers, check their website, check the information to make sure that the dye is safe if it's not white, and also make sure that you're getting something that's a 1, a 2, a 4, or 5, but 2 and 5 are the best. Okay, now really quickly, I want to talk to you about something that I don't normally just have. Well, I have in my house now because I use it for my garden. But this is a fabric grow bag. So these have been around for a while, but they're starting to become mainstream. And it's a really good alternative. You can get them for fairly cheap on Amazon. They're even cheaper if you buy them in bulk from a company that makes them. And it's just it's a pop-up fabric container. They fold flat, they come flat. You can buy these in bulk. You can put them in the washing machine, and when you're not using them, you can fold them and put them away. So this is a good, like, budget-friendly alternative to getting a bunch of plastic containers, particularly if you're limited on space. So if you've got, say, a patio at your apartment and you want to have plants out there in the summer, but you want to have like Christmas decorations for Christmas, you can use these containers. You would have to find a place to put your dirt, but when you're done, you can fold them up, wash them in your washing machine, and put them away. I have seen videos on YouTube of people making these. This one looks like felt, but I'm not sure exactly what it's made out of. I got this at 247garden.com. So if you're looking to buy a bunch of these in bulk, they're really cheap on that website, but the shipping is no joke. So make sure that you're buying in bulk if you want to go straight to that website. If you just want a couple of these, then Amazon is your best bet. Just understand that they are way more expensive on Amazon because Amazon charges third-party sellers extra money in fees for shipping bulky packages. So I will show you, I got some more of these today. This is a 15-gallon size container. They come folded flat, it's really convenient, but this still is considered a bulky package by Amazon. But you can get these in all kinds of shapes and sizes. I also, in addition to having a bunch of 2-gallon and 7 gallons, I now have a 25-gallon. I've got 5 15-gallons that I just got in the mail today. And I've got a 25-gallon. See how big these are? These can get very big. You can plant a lot of stuff in one of these. Just understand that once you plant it, it's going to get really heavy. So that's fabric containers, plastic, cardboard, and stuff that I scavenged from my house. And we had a nice little chat about plastic. Let me check to see if there's any questions. I see no questions. Okay, so I will just put this out here for you guys, and when you watch on the replay, you can comment and let me know. I want to make sure that you guys are getting the most benefit from these videos. So I've got a list of things that I'm thinking about doing videos on over the next couple of weeks. I plan on going live 5 times a week. I may occasionally just slide in a pre-recorded video because of something that I was doing at a different time of the day. Also, let me know if the 6 p.m. Eastern time is good for you guys. If it's not a good time, if you want to go back to like a 9 Eastern time slot, that works for me too. Just let me know in the comments. All right, so here's a list of things that I'm thinking about doing videos on. If you've got other questions, let me know. All right, here's my list. Grow zones, frost dates, what's frost hardy, seed starting, where to buy seeds, coverings for cold weather, scavenged containers, highest nutrition plants, mold and fungus, multiples in a single square foot gardening, identify and discuss vegetable groups, pollinators, plant parts, Q&A sessions, storing seeds, saving seeds, seedling anatomy, seedling spacing, bugs, heirloom versus hybrid, dirt math, buying in bulk, and I thought it would be fun if we did a what is this, where you guys just send me your pictures, and then I will tell you what you've got going on in your picture. So I'm gonna check for questions again. Loving your tutorials. Hi. Okay, so if you guys are watching this on the replay, please respond with if you've got any other questions that you want me to include in this list. Or if you've got any questions just in general. I want to keep this to like super beginner stuff at the moment to make sure that people who have not been gardening before can catch up. And then we'll get into a little bit more advanced stuff over the summer. But I want to make sure that everyone has a good starting foundation and basics in gardening. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you guys stay safe, stay home, wash your hands, and have a great night. Bye.